welcome back to the Youngs podcast. My name is Shay,
And I'm Dwight.
and we are the Young. So we made it through another week,
Yeah.
thank God. And I don't know if it's the universe or what's going on, if it's the full moons that are happening, but we have been going through it
Yeah, definitely.
between work, the kids. Just it seems like there's literally not enough time in the day anymore. And by like 9 or 10 o'clock, I am completely drained and exhausted.
I agree. Even the weekend was like a blur.
It was a blur, and now
Yeah.
it's just gone. I feel like there's something that I want to touch on this week, and I think it could be like a little bit of like a touchy subject or like a sensitive subject. I guess depending on the way you look at it.
Yeah, maybe for some people, but
Yeah,
others kind of, embrace it. So,
yeah, that's true. So we're gonna touch on the topic of step parents. Um, I'm experiencing that now, and
yeah.
Dwight has also experienced that as well in a previous situation. And I feel like the step parent role is more important than I feel like some people believe.
Yeah, definitely. Not only is it more important than what some people may believe, but it's actually more difficult.
I think that's true too. I think
Yeah.
there's like for me, sometimes I feel like Jordan is an amazing, sweet, kind 7 year old. Like you don't get no lip back from her. There's never any issues. Um, but I think sometimes for me, I kind of struggle a little bit with that like happy medium
Yeah.
because we have such a close bond, and I want to be like that cool stepmom, especially now since she's telling people, "Oh, that's my stepmom."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like just hearing that is very exciting for me, but it's also like a little bit like making things so real, I guess you can say, because I feel like it comes with a lot of responsibilities, but also it comes with like a lot of like red tape,
Oh,
if
definitely.
that makes sense, because I feel like you
Yeah.
don't want to overstep that line, and that line could easily be overstepped,
Yeah.
especially if your co-parenting situation with the child's actual biological mother or father is not the best.
That just makes matters worse. And
Yeah.
it just makes you sort of under the microscope even more
Mhm.
outside of the household.
Right.
Yeah. So, like Shay said, I've experienced that as well, and I've learned from past experience, and it doesn't always turn out the best.
Yeah.
In the moment, everything may be fine, but where you actually find out how you did or how that child grows up, and I guess their identity as to who
Mhm.
they become
Yeah.
and how they respond to you. I mean, that's when you really find out.
Mhm.
What your relationship has been about this entire time, because you put a lot of work into being a
A
step
step
parent.
parent, absolutely.
And it's more work, in my opinion. Well, let me put it this way: it's a different kind of work, in my opinion, than it is being an actual biological parent.
I agree because I feel like a biological parent, you kind of have like that bond that's already created.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But then it's like as a step parent, you are that new person coming in, no matter what stage of the relationship, that you're coming in at. And you also have to recognize that this kid, no matter if the kid is younger or maybe a little bit older, they still have feelings about maybe the dad not being in the household so much. So then this kid doesn't have access to the parent as much or the mother. So you also have to come into the situation, and you're the new person that this child has to get adjusted to, and this child is also getting adjusted to the new situation as a whole, and I think that kind of is what I'm talking about when I mean red tape,
oh yeah,
you
definitely.
know.
And depending on the relationship between the biological mother and, let's say, the biological father,
Mhm.
could be more red tape added
Yes.
that a normal person probably wouldn't have to, cut
Yeah.
through. And that could make or break a relationship between a step parent and a child,
Yes.
because that biological parent who is not in the household could interfere in so many different kind of
Mhm.
ways and make things difficult by putting
Speaking
so many
negatively.
put so many things in the child's head before the child even encounters that
Mhm.
that stepmom or that stepfather again.
I think the worst thing, in my opinion, that a biological parent can do to their child is to speak negatively about a step parent.
Yeah.
And I feel like that because one, I've experienced that, but also I feel like you're using the child as a pawn. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I feel like if the relationship has ended and you guys have children together, no matter how much you're hurt or no matter how bad you feel, the kid didn't ask to be here. The kid
Yeah.
don't have nothing to do with it, so leave them out of it.
Right.
Why tell this child that is young, still trying to, deal with their own emotions, because young children do feel the effects of a divorce or a separation or whatever, you
Yeah.
want to title it as. So why make it worse by piling something on this kid like, oh, you can't have a genuine relationship with the step parent because that's not your mom. Let the child build its own relationship with that individual.
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, you don't want to block your blessings.
Hmm.
You never know what position you'll be in life where you need that step parent or something. And the more that the more individuals that show that child love, the better. Because that's what you want. You want your child to be loved by many.
And they always say that old time saying, it takes a village to raise a child. That's
That's true.
a true statement.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like if you use a child like that and constantly tell the child negative things, like, I think the child becomes confused.
Oh, definitely.
And you never want your child to feel like they're in the wrong because they're creating a bond with this new person. It's not even to say that they're replacing the mother or the father. It's just you want that child to be comfortable in the new home that they may be being brought back and forth to. But you also, like, for me as a mom, I want to know that this new individual, no matter if my feelings were hurt or if I still have feelings for whatever, I want to know as a mother that this new individual is taking care of my child as if the child is their own, meaning
Yeah.
feeding them, making sure their health is okay, spending quality time with them, like just being there as if this is your child. If I know that, outside of how I feel personally, that's my main focus.
Yeah.
And that's not what everybody's focus is nowadays. It's like, okay, well, you don't want to be with me, so now I'm going to speak negatively about you to our kid. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a terrible, terrible idea to do that because ultimately this step parent is actually taking care of your child when your child is not in your care.
Mhm.
So you want to be able to trust this person. You want to be able to actually maybe have a conversation with this person and find out, hey, do you really love my child? Are you really
Mhm.
doing these things for my child because you want to? What's your relationship like?
Right.
How is she when she's around you?
Mhm.
Like, what are you doing for her?
Mhm.
And that's very important because
Yeah.
all of us, when we leave our children in someone else's care, that's the first thing we worry about.
Mhm.
How's our child being treated? Whether it's
Yep.
at daycare, whether it's at school, it could be a teacher, it could be, a babysitter, it could be anyone.
Yeah.
And that's your first concern.
As a parent that's present, that's not everybody's concern if they're not present. If you're not a present parent, that's not going to be a concern for
Right.
you. You don't care where your child's at. You're more concerned as to what my ex is doing and why my ex don't want to be with me. And I feel like that's a big problem nowadays. Like in our situation, you and I had a conversation, and I was more than willing to sit down and have a conversation. You know, to just be like, I will protect Jordan like she's mine.
Right.
But it wasn't reciprocated. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like it shouldn't be that way. Everyone, whether it's blood parents, not blood parents, we're all here for the well-being of the child.
Right.
So why can't that be the focus?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And that should be the focus. That definitely should be the focus. And in my previous situation, I didn't really have that pushback from the biological father.
Right.
It was pretty much me stepping in and doing the most, more than anyone even, you know, the other biological individuals to that child.
Yeah.
And I was more than happy to do that. And I felt as though in doing so, not only was I stepping up as a man when I didn't necessarily have to per se, but I wanted to.
Mhm.
And I didn't mind doing that. I loved doing it.
Yeah.
And I guess when you step up, you have to be prepared for everything that comes with that. And I was fully prepared. The only problem was it was too much responsibility that was taken on,
Mhm.
and I didn't realize it at the time. And the reason why I say that is ultimately you want to know that you're appreciated for
What
what you're
you're
doing.
doing, right?
You want to know that this child loves you back. And as the child grows, gets older, and gets into their own personality, no matter what happens with you and that child's biological parent or
Mhm.
the the in-laws or anything like that, you want to make sure that they still respect you.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that they still acknowledge all the good you did and that you still love and care for that child when you didn't have to.
Mhm.
So when it becomes to where you actually don't see that line anymore as to being the step parent or the real parent because you're doing so much.
Mhm.
So much so everybody else is just sitting back watching you. And that was my situation. And for it to come full circle and then all that work and then all that bond building and stuff to just dissipate just because you're in a position where you give, and then you're expected to give, no matter what.
Mhm.
And there's no giving back.
I think the main issue is individuals think that you are expected to do certain things for other people's kids just because you're in a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it gets to a point where it becomes where they feel as though it's not their responsibility anymore. It's the person's responsibility who has stepped in, who actually does the most, and they believe is more equipped to do the most.
Right.
So they kind of take a step back, and then a step back, and then a step back. But sometimes the minute that you don't do what they want you to do, or you're no longer, in that relationship, or you no longer have that bond with that parent, then where does that leave you as far as the child that you raised? It should be some encouragement to that child to acknowledge the fact that hey, this person has raised you as their own,
Mhm.
and no matter what has happened between this person and I, that is still in all of our eyes your
Your
parent.
dad. Yeah.
And that's my philosophy on it. That's how I would approach it.
I feel like that's how a normal individual that is not negatively impacted by another person's words, but also just a person that can think on their own would think that.
Yeah,
Because if they're able to sit and acknowledge, like, my biological parent wasn't there for me, but this other man who didn't create me essentially comes in,
yeah,
takes on all this responsibility. Things happen in life, and
yeah,
regardless of a relationship or whatever, this man still stepped in and decided to do what he wanted to do, or this woman still stepped in and decided to do what she wanted to do. So if your whole life growing up or whatever age it was, you looked at this man as dad or you looked at this woman as mom, why does that change just because?
yeah. Just because situations change,
Yeah.
that person is still that person to you,
Hmm.
and that person still should be that person to you.
Right.
So in your situation, it's different but somewhat similar.
Mhm.
And I know we'll touch on that in later episode. But if in fact your mother and father raised you as their own, and
Mhm.
you still acknowledge them as being your mother and your father,
Yeah.
and you still love them and appreciated them no matter what.
Yeah. So, like in my situation growing up, like the way I said, we'll go more in depth on that in a later episode. when that's the topic. But just to touch on that real quick, I was adopted when I was like I was taken from my mom when I was a baby. I was adopted when I was 2. So my whole entire life, I once I became an adult, I've returned that favor of gratefulness, I guess you could say. So my philosophy was you guys took me in when you guys didn't have to. You gave me a better life, and now I'm going to do all I could do to show my appreciation to you.
Right.
You know, I didn't just kind of be like, okay, well,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's appropriate because they didn't have to do anything.
mm-mm.
They didn't have to do any of the things that they did. And I think people lose sight of that.
Hmm.
You know, some people are just step parents by title.
Yes. And some
And they
parents
will,
don't put in the work.
right. And they will do the bare minimum, if that. And
Hmm.
that's it.
Yeah.
There's no bond there. There's nothing there. They're like, okay, I'm with your biological parent. We're in the relationship. And if we have kids together, guess what? This is our family, and I'm your step parent.
Yeah.
But
And it's always that, like, I'm with your mom, you're not my kid. And then if they have a kid together, you always notice the difference in treatment.
yeah,
Because this is our kid together, I'm going to treat you one way, but your other kid is basically like an outsider. And I don't agree with that.
yeah. But if you grow up and your childhood is privileged because of that step parent,
Hmm.
and you become an adult and you're well into your adult years,
Hmm.
and you still have depend on that step parent as if that step parent is your biological parent,
Hmm.
there should be some appreciation there.
Absolutely.
There shouldn't be expectation to where that step parent still has to take care of you
Hmm.
through your adult years.
Yeah, I think whether it's a step parent, whether it's someone that has taken you in or adopted you, I think that gratefulness and that appreciation should be shown to that individual. No matter if, the two adults in the situation are no longer in a relationship, where life may bring you one way and them another way, I think everyone should show that person appreciation because at the end of the day, you're not you're not in a place or like you don't have to get what was given to you because
Yeah,
not many people get that. Not many people come across an actual person that will say, "Hey, I love you, and because I love you, I fully accept your kid and the responsibility that comes with your kid." That's very rare.
it
I
is.
hear a lot of people saying, "I don't want to be with anybody that has a kid."
Yeah,
Like I don't want to deal with that baby mama drama. I don't want to be with anybody that has a kid. Like
yeah,
nobody wants to deal with that. And then it's like I said, it's the red tape because how often do you find a stepmom and a biological mom that actually gets along? Because the biological mom is always feeling a particular way.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you, and it makes things more difficult.
Mhm.
It makes things more difficult for everyone involved,
Yeah.
not just the biological, parent who is not with that other parent,
Mhm.
but for the child,
Mhm.
for the new step parent,
Mhm.
for everyone. And if they have siblings,
Mhm.
siblings feel that as well.
Yeah. They feel the separation. They feel like the energy. And I feel like it's worse when you have a biological parent that does not want to put in the energy to their child, let alone wanting to get to know the new person or the step parent, you can say. If the step parent and the other parent is putting in more energy than that separate individual, there's an issue.
Yeah,
There's an issue if the step parent is in a position where they are doing more than the biological mother or father. Not saying that the step parent may not want to do it, because in my situation, I would do anything for both our kids.
yeah,
No questions asked.
yeah,
But there's certain things that I shouldn't even have to be stressed about when we get this child back in our care.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And it's like the focus should always be the child. I don't care how you feel. I don't care what happened, how things went left, or whatever. If we can't say, all right, let's put this to the side because this child is feeling this, and this, or showing signs of this, and this, then there's a problem.
yeah. Or even if the child isn't showing any signs, it's a preventive measure.
Yeah.
So if the child won't start showing any signs that the child,
I
so
think
that the child won't feel like they have to take sides,
yep,
won't have to sit and listen to
negativity.
negativity or adult conversations.
Yeah.
Child should not be privy to that at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think like obviously when relationships end and there's children involved, things can get hurtful, things can get messy. Like that's not what we're saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is don't bring your child into that. Let the adults handle that.
Yep.
Allow a child to continue to be a child. Why would you sit and have a conversation, whether it's over the phone or in person, about the other, whether it's mom or dad? Why would you sit there and have a conversation in front of a child, especially if the child is coherent and to the age of understanding what is being said?
Yeah.
Because you have no idea how that conversation that was heard may affect the child. You don't know what that child's thinking of when they go to bed at night or when they wake up
Yeah.
or when they go back to the other home. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And it's like those things are not thought about. Those things are not a concern.
Yeah.
It makes things stressful. It makes things worrisome. And it could all be avoided.
Yeah. I think when a certain amount of time has passed,
Hmm.
I think so should those particular actions, those particular antics,
Yep.
and it should become more about the child because the time has passed.
Yeah. Time
And
has
it's like,
passed.
okay, everyone has moved on, and now the child is the focus.
Hmm.
So, like you said earlier, the classic saying, it takes a village to raise a child,
Absolutely.
and that's what the focus should be. And if you are co-parenting with the other biological parent who you know gives 100% to that child,
Hmm.
that's a plus.
Yeah, because that's,
That is a plus
yeah,
because that's not always the case.
right.
That's not always the case at all. You may be dealing with a stepmom or stepfather, and then the biological father or mother that's with that person is not the best, is
Right.
not the greatest, does not put it forth 100%.
Hmm.
So then you have all kinds of problems when your child,
Yep.
goes to the other household. But
Yep.
if you don't have that, that's a rarity.
Yeah.
Like that is a rarity.
I think co-parent. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So why risk that?
Hmm.
Why why do anything to jeopardize that?
Hmm.
Like any and everything that is being done, if it's being done for that child, why interfere with that? Why make it so neither household can do certain things for the child?
Hmm.
Why make it so both households are financially burdened? Why make it so both households are in particular situations or having to focus on something else and be distracted
Yeah.
and not focus on the child and the child's well-being? It makes no sense. It serves no purpose at all.
None. I agree with everything you're saying, and I feel like it's it makes for a crappy situation. It makes for a more stressful situation on
Yeah.
the individuals involved and the children involved. And I think it's just unnecessary. You know, shout out to every step parent, every stepmom, every stepdad that takes on the responsibility of another person's child without an issue, without, any complaints, because that is a major weight on a step parent. No
Yeah.
matter how much you love this child, no matter if you will give this child your last, it comes from a genuine place, but that doesn't mean that it's not heavy on you.
Oh,
You know
definitely.
what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So, I mean, just keep on trucking along, and whatever your situation is, I'm praying that it will get better because I'm praying that the things that we battle with, from day in day out, that they get better, because we
Yeah.
deal with a situation just like that.
Yeah.
And the co-parenting is not in a position where it should be given all that Dwight has given. You know what I'm saying? And like he said, if you have one parent that is giving 110% to their kid, there should be no issues.
Yeah,
None.
it should be none.
Because the focus is the child involved, as we said before.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And with our situation, all we do is pray about it. We
Hmm.
pray about it, and we try not to handle it in a negative way. And a lot of times, that's the first reaction.
Hmm.
And for us, it was the first reaction years ago.
Hmm.
But as time has gone on, we've learned to deal with it in a different manner. That's not to say that some things aren't upsetting,
Yeah.
but there's a time and place for everything.
Yep.
And you can't let everything get to you that someone else is doing, because that might be the reason why they're doing it.
Yeah.
So the focus needs to be the child. You need to stay on track and don't get discouraged. If you're a step parent out there that you're doing as much as you can do for that child and you're with the biological mother or father,
Hmm.
kudos to you.
Yeah. Just
Kudos to you.
keep
Just
doing what you're doing.
stay on track, stay on course, and don't let anyone knock you off course, no matter what antics, no matter what they say to the child, no matter what they try to interfere with, no
Yeah.
matter what kind of burdens they put on you. Just stay on course and
Yeah.
just continue to
And
pray
don't
about it.
let your child feel or see
Yes,
that. It's very important, because you don't want your child to begin to feel negatively about any situation. And that's something we believe in our house.
absolutely.
We have conversations when the children are not present because we definitely don't want to subject our kids to any of that negativity.
Yeah.
So,
And we started talking about different situations that have been maybe negative in our particular situation,
mhm,
different little scenarios or what have you. But ultimately, I just want to say I really, really, really appreciate you and love you for stepping up and taking care of Jordan the way you do and loving Jordan the way you do. I really, really do appreciate that. And it means a lot to me. Like
you're
it really
welcome,
does.
baby.
It means a lot to me. And like Shay said, I was in a situation similar, and it's difficult. It is difficult. And at the same time that Shay is doing all that she can do, which is a lot for both our kids, I'm still mindful of the situation that I went through.
Yeah.
I'm still mindful of that. And I don't want her to have to deal with any of that. I don't want her to feel like she's not appreciated. I don't want her to feel like all her work is for nothing. I don't want her to feel like, okay, this is all they need me for. This is all I can. This is what they feel like they. You feel like they're just using you or whatever the case may be. I don't want her to look back at our relationship and her being a stepmother and feel like I feel like they just used me. I feel like they just had me for this, and now I'm not a part of any of this.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that she's extremely important to me. She's extremely important to Jordan. Of course, she's extremely important to DJ as well. And I really appreciate her for all she's done. And like I said, I can relate. And she's very successful at what she's doing for our kids and for me, and dealing with this whole situation. And I think ever since we've gotten closer with God, I really think this situation it's really just been handled differently. I think
Yeah.
we've given it to God and it's just been handled differently. And even
Mhm.
even in my situation that I had dealt with before, I would say a couple years ago, yeah, I was battling to try to keep it afloat. I was battling to try to keep the relationship, with the stepchild and everything, the child that I raised as my own. And I just had to give it to God. I had to give it to God and let God steer the course.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, He will reveal things to you, He
Yeah.
will reveal people to you. And He will let you know, hey, this is who this person is. This is who this person has grown to be. This person is not a child anymore. And no matter how many vehicles you've bought, how many trips you've taken them on, how many of the top line nicest things you've purchased them, you know, countless hours of spending time with them, medical appointments, whatever else that you've done for this child and paid for everything, or if you've carried them under your insurance because the biological parents wound, or whatever the case may be, whatever you have done for this child, once this child grows up to be an adult, they have a decision to make. And in Shay's situation, like she said, she made the right decision. She honored those individuals that did not have to do the things that they did for her. She still honors them. She
Yeah.
still considers them her parents.
Yeah.
She still considers them basically they're her biological parents because they didn't have to do the things that they did.
Exactly.
And in my situation, I feel like I've really grown, and that's because I've given it to God, and God said, "Let it go.
Hmm.
Just let it go. Be at peace. Be at peace with it because you've done all you can do."
Yeah. I think it's important, like spirituality is very important to us. Um, and I do agree with what you're saying. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like since we've been on this spiritual journey and we've gotten closer to God, our situation, with the things that we deal with are not as heavy,
yeah,
you
I agree.
know? And you and I are able to kind of just take a breath and pray about it, literally pray about it first before we respond. And I think since doing that, that has been such a positive thing for us
Absolutely,
because
absolutely.
things have been revealed to us, people have been revealed to us, and that famous saying, not everybody is in your life to stay.
Yeah,
Everybody, some people have a season,
right.
you
Could
know,
just be for a season.
and some people cannot be with you when you elevate. Some people, like, you have to meet people where they're at sometimes, and not everybody can climb this journey with you.
Yeah,
Some people don't want to be better. Some people don't want to acknowledge that they're wrong, and they have to do something better, step outside of their self to do the right thing to fix that issue. And sometimes, especially in your situation, some things that are left unsaid, you cannot go back and reverse time.
yeah,
So, my, I guess, advice, like we've been kind of doing at the end of every podcast, would be to give it to God.
yeah,
And God will help you and allow you to go down the right path. And if you're a step parent out there and you feel a burden or a heaviness, give it to God and you do all you can do because it doesn't go unnoticed. And I do appreciate you for saying what you said and thanking me. And
of course.
Jordan is like my own kid. Like, I take being a step parent very, very seriously. I love that little girl to death. Um, and I just think, just step parents, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
No matter
definitely.
what the biological parent is saying or whatever the case may be, as long as you and your partner are on the same page when it comes to parenting and the well being of that child and your household, keep your household in check.
Yeah,
That's it.
and that's a real important point you just made there. That step parent and that biological parent that they're with are on the same page
Yeah.
because that support is needed. That
Hmm.
support is really needed, and it's not just the support that the step parent is giving the biological parent as the biological parent is dealing with the other biological parent
Hmm.
because they're not getting along or because the other one has different things that they're doing to try to cause trouble or using the child or whatever.
Hmm.
The step parent needs support as well.
Yeah.
The step parent needs encouragement as well because they're walking that path with you. And you
Hmm.
have to understand that the step parent is doing things that they don't have to do. They don't have to do any of the things that they're doing. They are in a relationship with you and they can accept that child, but do they have to do
The
the
things they do.
things that they do? That they do?
Yeah.
Does it have to be on that level that the biological parents on?
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep that in mind when it's time to support that step parent in every way, just like the step parent is supporting you, because that is a difficult, difficult position to be in.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah. So do you have any closing remarks that you want to kind of like maybe say to the people before we close down this episode?
yeah. So once again, I want to make sure everybody understands that when you're with a great partner who is a great step parent, take the time to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Take the time to show them the love and support that I wouldn't say that they need, but they need it.
Yeah.
They may not come out and say they need it, but they need it.
Yeah.
And you should give it to them. And in addition to that, I just want to remind all the step parents out there because of my situation that I previously encountered. No matter how many years you put in, no matter how many things you buy, no matter how much time you put in, And even if you feel like you have done more than the biological parent, and you have that backing from so many people who are saying that, don't get discouraged. Just give it to God, and God will reveal everything. And you can go to bed at night and you'll be able
Peacefully.
to sleep
Hmm.
very peacefully knowing you did all you can do. And ultimately, think about this: if you're trying to promote positivity in your life and you're trying to, I guess, exile all the negativity, that includes negative people.
And sometimes negative people, unfortunately, is family, or it could be a stepchild, or it doesn't matter the relationship.
Yeah,
You have, if you're in a position where you're wanting to better yourself and you don't want negativity, negativity feeds off of negativity. If you are surrounded by negative people, you will become a negative person and you will be in that route
yeah,
right with them. So if you surround yourself with positive people that are uplifting, then that's what you will be as well.
yeah, exactly. And you can't force relationships.
Hmm.
You just can't do it. You can't force relationships. And sometimes you just have to move on. You have to move on in life, and you've gone as far as you can go with that person. Even if that person is a stepchild who has grown up and you feel like you've done certain things for them, sometimes you just have to move on and be okay with it. You just give it to God and you'll be okay with it. But ultimately, support the step parent that you're with. Support them and love them for what they're doing.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up our podcast.
Yeah, it does.
So we just want to continue to let everyone know to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah.
We are still on the same schedule. Our videos will be dropping every Tuesday around noon. Don't give me exact time, but it's around that
Yeah,
time.
sometime in the afternoon.
Um, so subscribe to the channel. Go back, watch some old videos if you haven't watched them. Don't forget to follow our Instagram at The Youngs Podcast. That will be linked in the description down below. If
Yes,
you want to comment some topics that you want us to talk about, you could do that as well in the comment section below this video. We love y'all. We thank you for your support, and we are
absolutely.
out. Peace.
Peace.